In 1990, I was 32 years old, and I found out that I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, large cell type B, which is probably one of the most aggressive lymphomas. The doctors in the States gave me no hope, but I had hope because I was well aware of the IAT Clinic, as my mother was a patient. In 1982, my mother was diagnosed at 40 years old with malignant melanoma. And luckily for us, they offered her absolutely no treatment, no hope in the United States. So in a desperate plea to save her, we started to investigate every other opportunity, every other treatment that was out there. And without prayers to lead us in the right direction, we were led here to the Bahamas, to Dr. Lawrence Burton and the IAT Clinic. And believe it or not, I mean, my mother's cancer had already went to her lymph nodes, it spread through her body. But my mother was 5 years a patient here with no reoccurrence of the cancer on the IAT. I always knew that, this worked. I knew that it was a control, and there was no doubt in my mind, although I never thought I would ever have to use it, there was no doubt in my mind. So when I was diagnosed in the state, the tumor was humongous. It was in my chest cavity, my mediastinal area. It went across my chest from my heart to my lung, and it wrapped itself around, it had a tail. It wrapped itself around my esophagus, and they couldn't even believe I was alive. And basically, the doctor stood at my bedside and told me, so matter-of-factly, at 32 years old, we're gonna give you the chemo, you're gonna lose every hair, it's gonna make you go through your changes, you'll never have children. It could very possibly give you lung damage, permanent lung damage, heart damage, nerve damage. He just blurted out such a death sentence, no hope. It was just devastating to me. And I told him, no, I can't agree to that. I need time to think about it. And he was so angry with me because he wanted to start me on treatment right there and then. Cold as can be. He's like, no, you don't have time. One thing you don't have is time. And basically, he just took any quality of life in my mind that I could have had, he took away from me. So I thought very cockily, you're not going to give me any poison because Dr. Burton, I'm going to go to the Bahamas. But unfortunately, the tumor was so aggressive and it was so advanced that I couldn't fly. So there was no way to get me to the Bahamas in time, because the time it would have taken either to drive and take a boat, I probably would have killed me by then. The thing about the malignant lymphoma is it doubles in size. It's just so fast growing. And so I did start with the chemotherapy there. And miraculously, the first treatment shrunk the tumor by like 20%. Then you start to question, what do I do? Because you're starting to see success, and so fear takes over. And they shrunk it 30%, 40%, and then I just stopped responding. And little by little, I started to break down my body. I became leukopenic. I had no blood count. I couldn't transfer thought from my brain to my hand. I couldn't do a simple thing like write my name on a piece of paper. The chemo was affecting my joints. I could no longer really walk on my own. I lost every hair, all my hair, and I was just really gravely ill. And at that point, I just stopped the chemo. Even there, they couldn't give me anymore. My body couldn't handle it, and I just wasn't responding. And they told me basically, well, there's nothing else that we have for you, but that was okay because I knew. I came down to the Bahamas, there was still 60% of the tumor was still there, but I was no longer in respiratory failure. So I was able to fly down. And Dr. Burton met me at the airport, actually. And he came and he met my father and I at the airport. And he said, now you're home, now you're safe, and now you leave your health up to me. And I did. And I went back 3.5 months later, and I've never, ever since had any indication of the cancer. And actually, I didn't go through menopause. I did for a little while, but then my body was resilient. Everything came back. Everything was working perfectly. And my doctors that did care for me, that weren't the oncologists, they have called me on so many occasions to get this information because they understood the true miracle of the fact that I was living and breathing. They really understood the true miracle of it. And I am just really living proof that your prognosis, like I said, does not have to be death. Your prognosis can not only be life, but it could be a life worth living. Sometimes in the States, they keep you alive, but is it really a life worth living? And 90% of the time it's not. whether you make it or not, if your last days are on this beautiful island, on this beautiful ocean with hope, feeling stronger every day, because no matter what, it does build you up. And if nothing else, the time you're here, it's quality time. You're on a beach. You're in this beautiful island. You have your family coming down to visit and spend time with you that maybe they wouldn't have had in the States. They would spend it with you in a hospital bed. Your days are joyful. And it's now been 21 years. At the time I was 32, and I just prayed to hit 40. I want to have a 40th birthday party. And I had a 40th, and I had a 50th, and I'm going to have a 60th probably, and a 70th. And I'm never one that lies about my age ever or gets upset about a birthday, because I'm blessed for every birthday that I have. But IAT saved my life.